Let's get started. Welcome, everybody. Thank you for joining us today for this year's first Learning Technologies Group meeting. The meeting topic today is iPads in higher education, and we're here to talk about it. So we have a few guests here that have done this, and so they are special contributors, but we're all here to discuss and share and learn together. So we also have a very special guest, and that's Kevin Dixey, who's part of the ATUS crew. And he's going to start the session, and then we'll open it up. I'm Justina Brown. I'm from the Center for Instructional Innovation and Assessment, which is now part of ATUS. So we're all here together, and I think we can go ahead and get started.
All righty. So when Justina asked me if I would just say a few words, I thought, what the heck do I know about using iPads in higher ed? And I thought about it, and I have a certain perspective. I mean, I certainly can't speak for everyone, or maybe anyone. I can speak for myself, though, because I do use my iPad quite a bit. And I decided to show off and use my phone to control my iPad because I didn't want to be sitting over there. So I'm going to talk just briefly, and I won't take up a lot of time, about, I forgot to put the S on, I guess it should be iPads in higher ed, but at least from the perspective that I have, which is as a tech person, I'm a Grad 2S. I have a couple of jobs. One, I do the classroom imaging. I'm currently part of the team that's piloting the new LMS Canvas to see how that project goes. I do staff training, staff, faculty, and student training, and anything else they ask me to do. So that's kind of where I come from. So I use, and I teach a physics class. So I actually do use my iPad in a lot of different situations. So I thought about it. I thought, well, what's the best way to approach this? So first, I wanted to say, this is when I first started using the iPad, this is the kind of thing I got. Oh, yeah, the iPad, that's kind of cute. That's just the thing to watch movies on. And when I first brought up the idea at ATUS, I got a lot of this. And I'm stubborn. My dad was stubborn, so I'm stubborn. And I looked at the tool and I thought, well, maybe. You can watch movies on my phone too, but it's a whole lot more than just my phone. So I started to think about, well, what could you really do with it? Now, one of the reasons I chose the iPad, it's not like, ooh, iPad good, Android bad. It's the one that had the more complete ecosystem when I was looking, and that's the one I have. Could this work on an Android tablet? Yeah, probably. Do I have experience with it? No. And that's not because I have anything against Android. I just didn't choose to go that route. So I started off with this idea, and this was a lot of people said, well, isn't it just a tool for consuming media, for watching videos, looking at porn, doing YouTube, doing Vimeo or whatever. No, it's a lot more than that. Yeah, you can watch videos on it, you can surf the web, and get your email, and those are certainly the strengths of a tablet, but it does a whole lot more. And I think my answer to that was, nope, you can do more than that. So I looked at the iPad and I thought, what is really not to love about it? There's a lot of nice things about it. I'm a big laptop user. I've been a laptop user since, I think my first laptop was the PowerBook 100. It would be 1991 or something like that. So I've always really liked the idea of portable computing because I like to be on the move. And I'm willing to sacrifice some things in terms of the power that I have at my disposal for the ability to move quickly and have flexibility, be portable. So I looked at the idea of a tablet, in this case iPad specifically, and I thought, well, what's not to love? Well, it's portable. I do like that. My battery lasts all day. I'll tell you, my PowerBook 100 lasted about 30 seconds. Hey, that's great. Oh, got to charge the battery. So it's nice that I can go 8-10 hours on my battery. I can really use it all day. I rarely have to charge it. I do have to remember to charge it at night, but with heavy use, it lasts me all day. It's a multiple use device. It does more than just play videos. It really is quite flexible, and I'll show you some of the things I do with it. It's pretty intuitive. And I say that because when I first got it, I presented it to my 8-year-old son. What do you think of this? It took her like 30 seconds. Ooh, cool, what's this? No, not a whole lot of prompting. Same with my mom, who's 90. She'd be like even worse. And I was curious because she played with my phone and kind of got it. Computers were like, I bought her a computer, all she did was play solitaire on it. And that was like a big victory. Oh, I love playing solitaire. I started down with the iPad, and like 30 seconds, I said, ooh, this is cool. Ooh, can I send it? Ooh, look at that, I'll take a picture. So without much coaching, she was able to hop in and really kind of start playing with it in a way that was pretty nice. And also, the apps are cheap. I think the thing I like most about it is I can go buy an app for $2, $5. I'm really a big spender if I spend $10. Most of them are 99 cents. But if we come back to this idea, oh, it's not a real computer. I don't know how many times I had this conversation. It's not a real computer. Oh, for crying out loud. I mean, it is a real computer. You know, why? And I would ask them why. I was serious to one person said, oh, because it's not a Dell laptop. Seriously? It has more computing power than the LEM did when it landed on the moon. You know, and quite frankly, your old Motorola flip phone has more computing power than the LEM had when it landed on the moon. The amount of power you have in this is probably 10 times what my laptop was 5 years ago. All right? So they are remarkably powerful. They don't seem that way. But they do have a very sort of toy-like appearance. But don't underestimate them. So I just told people, just get over it. You know, really, you need to get over it. I'm going to use this for work. And I decided to start using it. And I have a laptop, and I have a desktop. I have a 27-inch iMac. I have a laptop and 2 PCs in my office. You know, and I use these things every day, but I started to consciously say, I'm going to use this thing every day and see if I can make it work. And you know what? I was able to replace my laptop with it. For like 99.9% of what I do. Every so often I run into something I need my laptop for, or I need my desktop for. But for the most part, no. I don't travel with a laptop anymore. Now, I have a pretty thin laptop, it weighs about 3 pounds. It seems huge to me now. Last time I traveled, I picked up my laptop, wow, that's heavy. You know, and I remember traveling with a big laptop. I used to have a big Dell with about, you know, I don't know, 50 pounds, these giant things. Now, that has so changed the way I think about travel. You know, it's like I wouldn't even consider carrying a laptop anymore. So, you know, what the heck do I use it for? Well, the big ones, the web and email, I use that a lot. I'm a tech support guy, and I use it for tech support, both training and tech support, here on campus. I remote control the imaging service with it. We have some network problems that extend out to some of the buildings where I can't get images to go out to the building to all the computers properly. So sometimes I have to do onesie-twosies. I go out and have to image, you know, 1 room at a time, 2 rooms at a time. That's kind of a pain, but we have to do it that way. I find that I can be out in the rooms without having a truck over here, go find an empty lab, boom, just pop up in TeamViewer or something like that. I log on to Terry Dayton's imaging computer, like, boom, done. I'm controlling it all remotely. First time I did it, he called me up, like, what are you doing? I'm controlling your computer. And he knew I was going to do it, but he didn't expect the way I did it. He said, well, what are you doing now? I was like, my laptop, or my iPad. He was like, really? Can you show me that? Sure. You know, I showed him. It was funny. He just laughed. And, wow, it's crazy. Works great. So I'm sitting there, doing all my stuff, getting my email. Oh, got to kick off an image. Takes about 30 seconds, and I'm done with it. I can create documents. This is a beef a lot of people have. It's not a document creation tool. That's just hooey. It is a document creation tool. Now, you do have to alter the way you think about creating documents. And that's what people say, well, I can't run Photoshop on it. No, you can run Photoshop on it. But you don't necessarily have to. You know, I think, and we run into that here in the labs too. We have this ongoing fight at HUS. This idea that, oh, we have to have the Adobe suite and the Office suite and all that stuff packed on a lab. Why? You know, there are times when that, I mean, if you look at the usage, like most of the students do in our labs, they surf the web, they use Facebook. That's mostly what our lab computers get used for. So I use that same knowledge here. It's like, well, okay, yeah, I don't have run Photoshop on here. I don't have Word on here. Do I need that? It turns out for most things, I don't. Do I sometimes? Yes. But for most things, no. Oop, wrong way. What about that? There we go. And I do sound recording. It goes back to my 90-year-old mom. She's 90 and she's not remembering things too well. I decided I wanted to document her life, things that she's done, just a lot of interesting stories. And I set up a simple audio recording system that I can go out, place this on a table, have my mic set up, recording stops. I can record it out in the field, at her place, wherever she is. I can go out and record people who are like maybe in a restaurant or in a, you know, who just can't travel. I can bring it back and I can send it, either send it to myself or sync it up to my bigger machine. And I can do some editing. I can actually edit it on there, and I can then post it on my blogs, all from this one little device. And of course, I do watch movies on it. It's like one of my second favorite things to do on it. So I wanted to show you briefly just a few things that I do. Do I have time? I think I have a few minutes left. So let me get out of here. So, you know, in tech support, well, of course, you know, the one I showed you was Keynote, which is presentation, which is actually pretty fun. Some of the things that I do, let me show you the tech support first one. So I've got it all bunched up here. Let's go to tech support. Something like, say, TeamViewer. It was a great example. I have TeamViewer all set up. In fact, I set it up both first on my personal computer, and then I thought, let's try this on the iPad, see if that works. And it works great. So for instance, if I want to go to classrooms, I want to go to the license manager, and I have all the passwords already pre-set up. It'll log me in. Terry's going to probably have it, so he's got it set up. I'm looking at that. I can then Control-Alt-Delete into this. So I come and bring up the keyboard, bring up the special keys, Control-Alt-Delete, and then I can log into this machine. He's logged in right now, so I could log him out, so I'm not going to do that, because he'd be mad. But again, and I will often do this. I'll log in. Oh, got to send that image off. Got to check that. Or I'll be out in the field and I'll forget something like, oh, what is that? What's the name of this computer? Or what images do I have to put on here? So this is invaluable to do at any place where there's Wi-Fi. My one regret when I bought my iPad is that I did not buy the one that was also 3G. If I had to do it again, I would buy one that was most connected. I was like, oh yeah, Wi-Fi. And I found out traveling through Spain, that's where it really caught me. Not a lot of places have Wi-Fi in Spain. And since I travel there a lot, it's like, ooh. So I would get a 3G one to give me a little bit more options. Some of the other things I use it for, I'm an avid photographer. So I have all my stuff online, and I've been using sort of cloud-based storage for a while. So this is all my photographs. I'm in a folder of some of them. Like when I was in Barcelona. Hello. Go to Guel Park, say I want to get one of, I don't know, Archway. So if I'm working, and say I want to work on my blog, and I want to post this, I like this image, all right? I can come up here, I can share it, I can tell it I want to copy the links, and it asks me what size, and then I choose the one I want. It'll copy it to my clipboard. I just want the medium size one. Automatically copies it to my clipboard, and then if I want to go in and put that in my blog, I can simply hop out, and I use a blogging tool called Posts, and I just choose one I would post, probably Infidel, is what I would put it on, and I would just pop into one of these. In this case, the one I already did with my son. I can change it, I can edit it. And this gives me full control of my WordPress blogs here, and then it actually works very much. It's a full-featured blog editor. So I can pop in and out, I can use, I can use my pictures in there. But a change that it made me do is it made me think about things a little differently, and that's how I made this work. I do a lot of cloud usage. I don't rely on portable storage. A lot of people say, well, it's no hard drive. I can't put a disk in here, and I can't put a thumb drive in there. No, you can't. But I use tools like Dropbox. I use tools like Mint and Google Drive. As a matter of fact, I have Dropbox on here. So Dropbox is a great example, and I have several things synced to Dropbox. And I'll tell you one that's been the most useful, okay? So I must have, Greg, you're probably the same way. You have tons of passwords, right? I must have 500 passwords, all for different stuff. There's no way I'm going to remember those. Either I have to be stupid and give them all the same password, which we all know how that works, or I have to do it the right way and have these fairly complex passwords, but that are more secure. So right down here at the bottom, this guy right here is my password key. Now it's double encrypted, and it's just the key, and it's sitting on Dropbox. My phone, my iPad, right, are both running the app that uses called 1Password. My home computer and my office computer all have the same one. They all have Dropbox on it, and they all sync to the same password key. If I can look up a password anywhere, in the field, via the phone, on Wi-Fi, on my computer, at home, if I change the password, it syncs it to that one key, and it populates it out to all my different devices. So no matter where I am, I have my password. And believe me, there's a lot of times where I'm trying to install something, for A2S. God, what's that password? Boom, 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 into the password, check it out, unlock it, there it is, and change it. That has been a lifesaver. Let me tell you, I cannot tell you how convenient that is. And to have that in your pocket, because I have 1Password here as well as here, I have it everywhere. Literally I could be like, anywhere there's cell coverage or some sort of coverage, I got my passwords available to me. So the last thing I wanted to show you, so I don't take up too much time, is I really, last year I wrote a novel, and I decided I'm going to write this on the iPad. So I have, first I started using a little Bluetooth keyboard. They're nice, but they kind of annoy me because they're so small. So I have an IBM Model 10 keyboard. Anybody remember those? They're like about this big, and they weigh about 50 pounds, but they're really good to type on. God, they're so comfortable. So I took an IBM Model 10, and I have a little adjustment that goes to USB, and I used the same connector here, which I use for my microphone, which is basically a USB connector. So I have it hooked up, and I had my iPad set up, and I had this giant keyboard, and I had it propped up like a little teeny screen, and I sat there and wrote the novel. I wrote a 50,000-word novel. I synced it to Dropbox. So no matter where I was, if I get an idea in the middle of the night, I hop on a computer, I get on my phone, I get on here, and I use this program called Storius, which there's a desktop version and an iPad version, right? And I was able to just open it, sync it, make some changes, save it back to Dropbox. So I had this one version floating around. It was great. And I wrote probably, not all of it, but probably 65, 70% of it on the iPad. It was great. Sometimes sitting out, writing it out on the beach, out in the park, stuff like that. I only needed to get into Wi-Fi range when I wanted to sync it. It was great. To me, just the freedom, this decouples you from having being locked to something. And even as a student, when I teach, the LMS that we're doing, going to education, there's an iOS app for Canvas, which allows me to go into the classes that we're using right now from Canvas. This is the one we built. This is the one that I'm teaching right now. I can go in. I can check material. I have a speed grader where I can go in and grade assignments on the fly. I mean, you can use interactive rubric while I'm doing it. I mean, it's a lot of tools. And I think what's nice about just this is the smallness, the way that it decouples you from having being anchored to that. This, to me, is like the back end of the wave. This is the old way of doing things.
Ball and chain, right?
Yeah. This is the new way. Now, is it this particular? Yeah, this will change. This will be different. But this model, this idea, this sort of super portable small light, this is, I think, where it's going. This is, I think, the future of computing. And this, I think, is the past of computing. Is this bad? No, it's not bad. Do I want to be stuck to this? No, God no. So that's all I got to say. And I ran a little bit over time, sorry.
That's all right.
Is that the photo connector, what you said was?
Yeah, it's right here. Yeah, the photo connector, it's funny. They call it the photo connector. It's just a USB
Because
connector.
they don't want you to use it for anything.
Yeah. The older ones, too, the older USB connectors were a little bit nicer, the first gens.
Mm-hmm.
The second ones are a little kind of finicky, but they still work great. I actually connected a hard drive to it. I couldn't get the hard drive to mount in any meaningful way, but I could see the files, so that was kind of fun.
Thank you.
Sure.
Now,
Oh, this thing? Oh, yeah, this thing is called a Samson. What is this called? Samson is the brand. I can't remember the name of the actual name of the mic, but it's it was nice. It costs about $80. It's got a little attenuator on the front, USB on the back. I think it's great sound, and it's nice because you can get some kind of flatten it out. It's really pretty cool. I love this mic. This is one of the best sounding mics I've ever used. And then it's usually with GarageBand here.
Can you use it for video with your iPad?
Oh, yeah.
And with cameras?
Oh, yeah.
Uh-huh.
Yeah. This?
No,
Oh, this? Oh, yeah. Yeah, well, sure, I've used it with iMovie several times. Yeah, I love this thing. This is fantastic.
awesome. Now I wanted to quickly have everybody just say who they are, and then we can open it up for discussions. But first, can I have a straw poll? How many people actually have an iPad for reading? Not everybody. Okay, some interesting parties anyway. All right. Does anyone have something else other than an iPad, a different kind of tablet? Okay. All right. And then the agenda, if you didn't get one, make sure does anybody need one? Here, I'll just pass it around. And then on here are some of the things I anticipated he would talk about because he gave me some names.
Did I?
Of apps, yeah. And then also some other resources. But I will, if your name's on the sign-in sheet, I'll email you these so that you're not having to type them in. And then I wanted to point out that we do have another meeting next month on November 1st, and that's on Bring Your Own Device Response Systems. And what that is in classrooms, getting away maybe from clickers and seeing what can be done with the devices that are already in our students' hands. We're on that road. So anyway, thanks again for everybody who showed up late and showed up early and in between. So go ahead and introduce yourselves.
Yeah, my name is Bill Peck. I'm the director of the Asia University program. Tony Youngian, retired IT.
Deb Jusak, Provost Office.
Kingston. I'm from CBE. I teach accounting classes.
I'm Sean Stockberger. I manage the help desk for ATUS.
I'm Debra Frost. I'm over at University Residences in the IT department.
I'm Brian Bingham, Environmental Sciences.
And Laura Carney, AUAP.
Jason Kanov, management professor.
Lindy King, Office of Field Experience.
I'm Linda Schleef, and I'm here in WCE.
I'm Joanne Carney, no relative to Laura.
I've always wanted to meet you.
I'm in elementary education and instructional technology in Woodring.
I'm Jill Mount. I'm in the new nursing program.
Oh,
I'm Brandon Dietrich. I'm in the chemistry department.
Greg Hoffenbacher, Woodring Tech Services. Andrew Fuger, Systems Administrator over in Computer Science.
Caramba, I'm learning classical language.
And if anybody over here would like, looks like there's a couple spots on the other side if you want to move around. Does anybody have any other questions for Kevin?
I'll slide out a little further.
How do you vet apps to make sure, like, because there's so many for similar functions, how do you decide what to get?
You know, they're cheap enough that I actually buy them and try them out. That's usually what I do. I've been working with software a long time. I know kind of who developers are, and I get sort of rough idea like, okay, this is a Chinese knockoff, and this one's a real one. So I do a little bit of research on trying to find out where they came from, who developed them, and I tend to look for apps that are developed by people I know, like say Panic, really well respected developer of web tools. They have a not a web. Basically, it's a web programming tool called Coda-Lite. So something like that. I'm pretty, I trust pretty much. I said, yeah, Some of them I try out. There's some of the photo editing ones I had to try out. And I spent maybe $10-15 trying some out, ditching a few of them. But I think generally speaking, the price is so low that it's worth kind of experimenting. Where I kind of hold out, like, ooh, it's funny. Where I'll buy something for the computer that's $50. In here, like, ooh, that's $2.99. I don't know, that's kind of pricey. So, but yeah, typically it's cheap enough they'll just buy them.
Well, I haven't bought an app yet.
Oh yeah, it's addictive. It really is.
I try the free versions of a lot of them.
Yeah, I do that too. And a lot of them offer a free one, and then if that's good, you try the paid one.
Right.
And sometimes the free one's fine. There's a few of them that's like I never even bothered with the paid one.
Yeah.
I was gonna say that I don't look on iTunes, that I Google, so I'll put in the best app for doing such and such. And then what you do is you start to find review sites that you really can depend on them. And so I look for reviews or ratings.
There's a site called iLounge, which does a lot of stuff with mobile. They're pretty good. They tend to be a little bit more in like accessories and stuff, but they've kind of moved into apps. And I've always liked their reviewers. But I agree, I look for reviews, But then, more often, sometimes I just jump in like, okay, 99 cents. Let's see if that's worth it.
And I also, over time, you kind of develop a sense of what your requirements are for an app. And one of the requirements that I always look for is, you can set it up, of course, so that your iPad backs up your apps to iCloud. But I look at it at an app and I say, if I want to get that information out of my iPad and use that information on another device or another computer, what are the export capabilities of this app? How can I get this information into another format? And it depends. I mean, some apps, I don't care. I'm only going to use it on the iPad, but other apps, it just depends. And some of them are cloud services, like Evernote is popular. Note-taking tool that has its own cloud service, and you can access your notes on your pad or any web browser. But other things a lot of apps use Dropbox, like the one that you were showing. That's becoming an increasingly popular way for some apps to sync between devices. And when an app syncs to Dropbox, I usually know, hey, that's going to be easy for me to get to that data. It may or may not be in a usable format for another program, but it's at least something that I can know that I'll be able to sync it to a device at least, or I might be able to export the data and from Dropbox to another format if I want to open it up in another program. So.
One that I've been using a lot recently is called Sketch, which is a screen cap for what's going on, and allows me to, like we're doing some stuff with Canvas, I'll log into Canvas on the browser, screen cap it, because you do it from within Sketch, and then the big red arrows, like go to this button, go to that button, and then I save it to the photo thing here, what would you call it, the photo repository, and then I can insert them in emails and send them out to profs. I've done that a few times. It's like, yeah, there you go. Once I was down in Seattle and it was all I had, and I sat in a Starbucks and answered a bunch of questions, press on this button, then look for this menu, and go there. Love it. You know, and even just as simple as that, being able to save it to the photos it's like the equivalent of saving to a hard drive, because that's, you know, works with screen cap, so.
Now, do we want the special guests, including Deb Jusak, do you guys have anything you want to add from your experience, or do you want to just go through and tell us how you're using iPads? And
Well, I'm not using an iPad, but
Okay.
I think I'm here because Kathy Kitto had the NSF grant to develop some applications for, some apps for her material science class. And so she did kind of the design and everything for what she needed for the class, and I was monitoring the group of students that actually implemented the apps on the iPhone. And so actually, she has iPods, and so we were using the small iPods, and we developed a number of apps there. So I had to get up to speed really quickly at some point with, you know, Apple's SDK and how to use all that stuff, and then advise students. And they put together some pretty nice applications, and really I think the benefit of it is Kathy's been using it in her class, and of course she's got an NSF grant, so she's tracking how the students were learning before the use of these devices and then after the use of these devices. And she's using them kind of in groups of 4, groups of 2, and so we've got some are apps that are kind of like out there, they're kind of standard like flashcard apps to kind of about certain areas of material science, and we have everything kind of synced up on a website here, so the data is downloaded, and we have it where they can kind of practice and practice and practice, and then I think they can do in a practice mode and a test mode, and then in a test mode that data is uploaded, and she gives points for them for doing certain things. One of the apps that we developed, and then there is a graphing app, so for various different kinds of materials, whether they're steel or plastic or glass or this or that, you can do a bunch of graphing to see there's various different kinds of coefficients that, and this is not my area, that talk about these things, whether it's density or, I mean, that's one I know. And so you can graph it, you can get a bar graph and kind of really see, and you can punch in and choose different kinds of materials. And this one was really, there's nothing else like that out there, and it was, it's pretty creative, and I think it was kind of neat the way it was developed. And then you can plot on point graphs, X, Y axes, different coefficients of those different kinds of materials against each other and investigate things. So it's very visual, I think, for students, and I think her results have been very positive. That learning really has improved by the use of these things, and of course I think it's kind of fun to use them. And then some of the follow-on things, we're just putting, well, I know, and on the flashcard app too, we would have different things, like if you got a wrong answer, that we have kinds of resources to either go out over the web to understand it, or a YouTube video, or an audio kind of thing, whatever, you know, might work best for you. I think that kind of thing where there's feedback and then try again. And then I think she's put, the later things are really, we've got people working on content, developing, putting up on there, and then so that they can kind of look at it down on the iPod. And the idea is to really improve learning, and I think it has. I think, you know, she's got a few papers from that. So, but I was really the computer science, the programming part of that piece of it. So.
Well, I'm still figuring it out. I use it, I actually let a student use it in class today as their own, bring your own device, because they forgot to bring their own device for the response system that I'm using. So far I've used it as more of a compendium. I'm really interested in the idea of switching over to this more full-time, but I use it, you know, as a way to carry around articles and things like that I upload a lot of stuff I'm currently reading to Dropbox, and then I can just pull it up on here and kind of flip through it like I'm flipping through papers while I write or type or work on whatever I'm working on my laptop. I'm starting to really kind of appreciate the cloud, you know, where I can do more. You know, I've started to realize, why do I bring my laptop home? I mean, I can leave it here, because I bike to and from work. And I'm like, I don't really. If I just think about a couple of things, like where I store them, it's much. I mean, Dropbox is way more convenient than the U-Drive here, you know, because you don't have to. If you're home, you don't have to. You know, log into the whole thing and then pull it. You know, it's just. Boom, it's just automatically there. You click it, opens it up. It's, so I'm starting to really appreciate some of the capabilities that come with this. But I mean, I'm really just figuring this out myself.
This is a question. You guys, I think Jason, your name?
Yeah.
Okay. You mentioned about the U drive and you also mentioned about the Dropbox.
Right.
Because when I'm at home, you know, I never access to the U drive. So I think, are you saying that you are able to use the iPad and be able to access the U drive by using the Dropbox technology? Is that what you're
I just bypass the U drive and put things that I think I'm going to need at home on Dropbox.
Okay, I see what you're saying. Okay, thank you. Yeah.
And you know, there's like a whole bunch of different remote access sort of cloud storage type things, and Dropbox. Many of them give you a certain amount of free space. I mean, a few gigs of space, which depending on what you have on there could be plenty. I mean, and then when I first got Dropbox, I just invited everybody I could think of to use it because every time somebody else signs up using my invite, I get free space. So, you know, I've gotten it up to like 8 or 9 gigs right now or something. So it's kind of nice. But you can also buy space. You know, you can pay for it. But also, I mean, if you use different, like Google Drive is essentially the same thing as Dropbox, as far as I can tell. So you can put some things on one and some things on another if you really want to get creative, and you can make use of different people's free space.
Yeah, Microsoft has one too, the Fire
SkyDrive.
SkyDrive.
Yeah.
You can access that too through there.
Yeah, and you get iCloud space with the iPad. So, you know, if you're creative about it, you can have this whole portfolio of different free things with minimum space and keep certain things in different areas, and it's all accessible.
Well, it's like my Flickr account, you know, my Flickr account, my Zenfolio account, I have your same way, I've got like, I must have 10 different cloud accounts that I access with it.
Yeah.
There's an app that does let you access network drives like the U drive and the P drive that we've made accessible using a protocol called WebDAV. But it's only from within this one app. So I've used that when I'm like, you know, I really need to check the schedule that I left on the P drive for my staff. So I can open this app and I can log in and I can open up, it's an Excel spreadsheet, and it'll just open it in a read-only mode. I can't edit it because the app that I'm using doesn't really have much for edit capability. But it does work, but the problem is that you know, the other apps that I use don't really support that protocol. But they do support these cloud services, like you mentioned, you know, like Dropbox and SkyDrive, and there are a lot of you know, cloud-based services like that now that it's becoming more common for apps to support all of them. You know, so you can download the app that you want to use, and it would tell you all of the things that it supports like that. And for accessing the P drive or the U drive, I just have one app that can do that.
I TeamViewer into my desktop
You can do that
machine,
too.
and I get to my U drive and I copy things to Dropbox. I've done that many times where like I need something, and it's like it's the fastest way to do it because I have TeamViewer set up, and I got my password, I get in, boom, I'm out.
Yeah, I've used TeamViewer that way too.
Love TeamViewer.
Linda, would you like to share how you've used it?
Well, actually, you know, Joanne and I both are in the ed departments, and you want to talk first a little bit? Why don't you go ahead?
Linda, you know so much more about this than I do. I am here as like second string. Really, the person sitting next to Linda should be Paula Dagnan, who is the director of our instructional technology program, but she is teaching right now. So I'm a substitute. So you start.
Okay. Well, I am the coordinator of something we have here in Woodring, which is called the Urshig Assistive Technology Resource Center. And I work with teachers in training primarily so that they'll learn about the tools that might benefit their future students. So students come in and complete assignments learning about the technologies that we have. that might support people with disabilities or people who are English language learners or any kind of learning differences, which could be anyone, right? So a broad range of tools, including iPads. We have a iPad station where we have 3 iPads locked up where students, or anyone really, could come in and look at apps. We have about 200 apps on our iPads, and I also have 8 iPads for loan to students, but also for loan to families in the community. I also work with schools in the area when they have particular children that they want to consider their technology needs, and so we sit with the family and the school team and think about technology that might benefit that student. And then we have a family grant that families can apply for to buy technology that they think would benefit their child at home. And often those requests are for, guess what? iPads. So we also just have these iPads for loan so that schools and educators and families can try the iPad and the apps before they make a decision to buy them, as well as the other technologies that we have. So,
Do you want to show us anything?
yeah, sure.
Come
on down, huh? So, a lot of what I have then is for P12 students. And I've also been involved with, I'm part of the instructional technology group too. And so I also have been involved with an STF grant that Tony wrote for getting 20 iPads for students to borrow and use. And so basically I've been putting together a list of apps that we want to put on those iPads too. So right now we're getting ready to buy and download apps for about 30 something, almost 40 iPads. So
What kind of students can check those out?
that's a good question. We haven't exactly decided that yet. Okay.
Oh.
So have we?
We have priority, don't
Yes, we do. Woodring students. Right.
Woodring Boston.
Right. Woodring Boston. Yep.
Well,
But it's not restricted.
Well, we don't know yet. Okay. So we'll get back to you on that. It depends on how much they get used by Woodring students. So 20 is really not a lot. Okay, so a couple of things. There are apps, for people with disabilities. So an example here would be magnifier. Of course, I didn't bring anything up here to magnify, but so this is like a digital magnifier, which could cost $700, right? So really a nice option, and again, if you had it on your phone, if you didn't need if you didn't need a higher level of magnification, then that could work well. Also, for people who can't speak, there are apps that are fairly expensive. This is a $200 app, and it allows an individual who can't speak to communicate. Let's see if I have my, I'm looking for chocolate on here, but I don't see it, so we'll pick a milkshake.
I like milkshake.
And a device that operates similarly to this before the iPad would and still does cost $4,000 to $10,000. And now we have the cost of an iPad and a $200 app. So for $700, you can have a device similar to one that would function much more than cost much more than that. So it's really been life-changing for lots of people with disabilities. But then there are apps that can support, again, English language learners, for example. apps that will build vocabulary. This is called Vocabador. And you can do the training or the challenge. So let's try the challenge. Well, no, I'm going to show you the training first. So we'll do a couple of heavyweight words here. So I can hear that word.
Abdicate.
And I'm pretty sure this is a free app. And then when I flip the card, it has the definition for it. If this is a word I've been struggling with, I can flag it. This one's already flagged. And then it will come up on my list of flagged words down here so that I can practice the words that I'm struggling with. Okay, so let's try the vocab challenge now. Are you ready? Heavyweight?
Let's do it.
Okay.
Throw down.
All right, we get to pick nitro. No, I like nitro. Okay. So you choose the correct definition for this word at the top. Come on, come on, come on, come on. Da 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 da.
Happening by chance.
Okay. I'm going to say this one. Oh. So anyway, you get the idea. So vocabulary, grammar apps, all kinds of things like that. One of my favorite apps, this is a free screen capture tool, and it's called EduCreations Interactive Whiteboard. And I can either just draw on here, or I can bring up a photo or take a photo. Yeah, let's take a photo.
Of your fingers.
Of y'all. Yeah, where are they? Okay. And then I can use that, and now I can annotate this, or like Kevin was talking about, I can draw arrows on it or whatever. And but what I should have done is pushed record first, because now I'm actually recording what I'm doing, and I can use this also for teaching. Yeah, there you go. And then I can get another page and just continue to add to that. So a great way to tell stories or digital stories or all kinds of things, and then you can have it replayed. So I think that has lots of applications. More, or is that enough for now?
You know, we have one. We use Camtasia Relay here on campus.
Uh-huh.
Screen captures off of the computer machines. Camtasia Relay Fuse for the iPad, and we've been playing around with it where you can log into your Relay account and you can capture yourself or whatever, you know, and then automatically load it up to the Relay account. It's pretty cool.
Oh, I know one more I want to show you. Well, there's lots more I want to show you.
Before you go in, does everybody know what Camtasia Relay is?
But it is so on your classroom machine, on the classroom machines, or any place we put Camtasia Relay client, you can capture what's going on the screen. So if you're showing somebody how to do something in an app, you want to capture a lecture, or PowerPoint, or whatever, and then that uploads it to a server that we have here on campus.
With the audio too.
With the audio, yeah, audio and video, and it will allow you to, and then you have an account. We do a free account for you, and then we'll send you an email. Say, okay, your file is here. And you can designate you want it in Flash or in QuickTime or whatever format you want. So the iPad app version only works with cameras currently, but it'll be the cameras, any of the front or the back cameras speaking to it, and then it'll upload it to the same servers.
This is Shakespeare in Bits. There are several different plays available. This is Macbeth. And so I can watch the play. Oops, I didn't mean to. Yeah, that's okay. Okay, and then down. I hate these things, don't you? These
Yeah, I think
connectors.
it's the one going to the
Anyway, I can look at information about the characters. I can look at different scenes. I can look at the language and have it translated into more common English so that I can understand it better. Oh, I guess that means my time is up. So, but anyway, we could do more another time if people are interested. But Or we could meet in the EATRC sometime if people are interested, and I could show you what we have there. So let Justina know if that's something that you'd like. Thank you. Joanne, I didn't talk about Mount Vernon. Why don't you?
We have a grant to work with Washington Elementary School and the Mount Vernon School District. And it is really interesting and illuminating for us to see how they are going great guns with all of the mobile technologies, iPod Touch and iPad. And just as Kevin was seamlessly going back and forth, really it's useful to think about the entire category of mobile technologies because they do much of the same thing. And of course, we get these little intimations that Apple is working on a 7-inch iPad that will kind of bridge the gap between here and there. Mount Vernon School District, Washington School, they don't have a great deal of money, but they have iPod labs in every one of the schools. That is multiple carts of iPods that they can wheel around, enough for all the children in a given classroom. And they have a technology specialist who has come up with all kinds of activities for each of them. So I think what's going to happen is there's a potential for really transforming K-12 teaching and learning with these apps. And of course, these generations who use these natively are coming toward us in higher education. And so I think it behooves us to keep up with our clients, our students. I have not done as much with, I'm only teaching one class right now because I'm a chair, and that tends to occupy so much of my time. But I've been playing around with QR codes. Have you done anything with QR codes? They are really cool. Would you like me to show something related to
that'd be
QR
great.
codes? Do you know what QR codes are? Would somebody like to explain the theory, the device?
I'm afraid I can't explain it.
They look like this, in these little boxes with squigglies inside. If you look in stores, you see them on displays, you see them on the web all the time. Advertising in magazines.
Houses for sale.
Houses for sale, that's right.
Oh, that's what
You just point your phone or
It's a form of barcode, really.
Mm-hmm. And you need an app to read it.
Barcode that goes both ways is the way.
There's also, there's QR
Explain it
codes,
to
and
us.
then there are 3-color QR codes, which
Oh.
hold more information. Like QR codes are limited to text, URLs, things like that, and then the multicolor ones can hold just 3 times more information. Yeah, I love QR codes.
Now, is it going to work for us? You broke it, Linda.
I probably did.
No, display's
it's
off.
just off.
Yeah. There you go.
While she's setting up, I have 2 things I'd like to quickly mention. In Marysville, the brand new Getchell High School, brand new Marysville Getchell High School, one of their pods, they're modeled after Bill Gates schools. That 10th Street school, and every student there has an iPad. Every student there has an iPad, and no books. They did not buy any books. They're doing everything electronically off of iPad. Interesting, I thought. Second, there's a junior high school in Shoreline that every student has an iPad. I don't know about the books. I don't know if I can delete all the books from that school too. And Arnie Duncan, you heard of Arnie Duncan? Secretary of Education at the national level. Just yesterday said in 3 years they want to do it with all textbooks and switch everything to electronic devices. He did not use iPad as the only brand. This concept, we're going to see, I think. Interesting.
Can I ask a quick question?
Yeah.
So, what kind of opportunities are there on campus for getting if we want to incorporate this sort of stuff into what we're doing, are there programs available to us, or is this something you just kind of have to write up a grant and hope that it goes through? Or?
Yeah, I think that's it right now. Yeah, there's no iPads for checkout and classroom services, but they do have some iPods, but they're really being set up for use as video cameras.
Is there a good set of resources for if you are interested in trying to write a grant, this sort of thing? Do we have campus resources that can help us? I mean, if we're trying to get money on the state level or the national level.
You might think about a STF grant, a
Yeah.
student technology fee grant. That's what we did that's what Tony did for the 20 that we got. So
That's the only thing I can think of.
And we're real interested in durability issues around, that's I think an open question on campus is, if you start checking them out to everybody,
Yeah, one
how
drop.
long will they
and-
last? And there's no answer to that question.
Well, I'm curious of a more controlled environment, but still it would require
yeah,
quite a few.
like in the
So.
classroom
They make
or whatever.
cases that are toddler proof that you can put them in.
Yeah,
that-
foam ones and all kinds, yeah.
That's something that computer
This
science
site is a
really
QR code generator. It's called QR Stuff. And look at all the different data types that you can turn into
Can you read
some
them to
sort
us,
of
because we
code.
can't see them?
Website URL, YouTube video, Google Maps location, which is what I just tapped upon, happens to be San Francisco, but I did one in this area earlier. Twitter, Facebook, LinkedIn, Foursquare, Apple Store download, iTunes link, plain text, telephone number, Skype call, SMS message, email address, email message, contact details, event, Wi-Fi login, PayPal buy now. All of these can be turned into codes that when you scan them, something happens. And I'll show you some that I have created by using QR Stuff. Another one that is interesting is an add-on to Firefox that enables you to right-click on any web page, makes it a QR code. You scan it, boom, you're at that web page. And I'll show you that as well. Another one, this is actually my favorite, and I was playing with this. You can type in something and create a QR code in any of a number of languages, and it creates that particular code, and when that then is scanned, it speaks to you. I tried some of those, and as I said, we're working at Washington School. We're just starting our work, and we're going to have a whole group of interns from our program, 8 of them, going down. And I'm just thinking, these are large to show you, we could put a whole series of little QR codes on a sheet, PDF it, send it to them, and then they can use this to gather information about Washington School. And here is a reader that, a scanner that I thought worked quite well, and it is iPad size. Many of them are made for phones, but this one is for the iPad. And you can, it's not working here. You can do a scan from various things, and here is the what I just showed you. I held up to show you. And what you can do is you can move and scan particular items, and it just scanned this, and what you have then is
Welcome to Washington School.
And my Spanish is pretty rusty, but what I had done was typed in "Welcome to Washington School" and asked for it to be translated into Spanish. I can return to that scan, and I can also I had scanned a map, a Google map of the school.
Joanne, hang on to that adapter for me, okay?
Yes,
Thanks.
actually we switched to
Oh, okay.
Kevin's. So our students can simply point their phones, scan that little squiggly code, and there's where Washington School is located in Mount Vernon. Something else that our students really need to know, it's got all kinds of useful information, are the characteristics, the demographics of that particular school. And going back to that very same PDF that I created, this was the use of that right-click gadget from Firefox. And I scanned the report card of the student demographics at Washington Elementary School. So you see that this is a very diverse school with about 64% of its population Hispanic. So, you know, we can hand our students something like this. We can send it to them in email. Everything you need to know for your first day at Washington Elementary.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you, everyone who's still here, and I make sure you have signed in, and I'll send you an email to follow up with all those links. If you have a favorite app or anything you want me to add to the list, let me know.
Sign-in sheet.
Yeah, it's the blue sheet back there.